sir, and good morning, classmates. Today, the District 5 is the assigned reporters for the Global Divide, North and South. Global Divide describes global disparities primarily between developed and developing countries in regards to access to computing and information resources such as the Internet and opportunities derived from such access. Divide is caused by political power, economic dependency, and importation or exportation of resources. Transition of industrial production to cheaper labor sources, international media, and expanding international trade and communication have in some ways made the world smaller, yet in other ways made the gaps between nations larger by creating greater dependency of poor nations to wealthy nations. Modernization theories' ideas are rooted in the functionalist perspective of inequality. This theory believes that poverty is a basic human condition, so all countries were poor to begin with. The first countries to adopt modern technologies, attitudes, and institutions will in turn to be the most wealthy and successful. Countries that hold on to traditional views and processes will fall behind until modern corporations and novel technological advancements eventually overtake traditional institutions. On the other hand, the dependency theory is founded in the conflict perspective of inequality. According to dependency theories, the factor that mainly derives the double divide is colonial imperialism that exploits poor countries by excessive exportation of resources, taking additional profits and controlling through neocolonialism. Poor countries are dependent on more powerful countries due to debt, foreign aid, and domination by the more powerful governments using economic and cultural influences. This theory counters the modernization theory in that poverty is not the fundamental human condition. It is created as a result of capitalism, imperialism, and neocolonialism. Dependency theories look at external factors affecting a nation's struggles with poverty and inequality, whereas modernization theories believe poverty is an internal struggle. The global divide, or in other words, the double divide, is caused by political power, economic dependency, and importation or exportation of resources. Transition of industrial production to cheaper labor sources, international media, and expanding international trade and communication have in some ways made the world smaller, yet in other ways made the gaps between nations larger by creating greater dependency of poor nations to wealthy nations. Modernization theories' ideas are rooted in the functionalist perspective of inequality. This theory believes that poverty is a basic human condition, so all countries were poor to begin with. The first countries to adopt modern technologies, attitudes, and institutions will in turn to be the most wealthy and successful. Countries that hold on to traditional views and processes will fall behind until modern corporations and novel technological advancements eventually overtake traditional institutions. Ano nga ba ang global divide? Ito ay ang gap o agwat sa pagitan ng mga individual, negosyo at lugar na pangheograpiya. Kadalasan, ito ay ang pagkakaiba-iba ng economic levels na tinatawag. Ito ay sanhi ng mga dibisyon o paghahati-hati ng mga tradisyonal na tangay sa pamamagitan ng pang-ekonomiyang pangyayari dahil sa mayroon ng hindi proporsyonal o hindi pantay-pantay sa pagitan ng mga bansa ng mga sitwasyong pang-ekonomiya. Isang malaking pandaigdigang dimensyon ang umiiral sa loob ng pandaigdigang paghahati. Ang paglipat ng produksyong pang-industriya halimbawa sa mas murang mga mapagkukunan na paggawa, internasyonal na media at pagpapalawak ng internasyonal na kalakalan at komunikasyon ay ilan sa mga paraan na ginagawang mas maliit ang mundo. Ngunit sa ibang mga paraan ginawang mas malaki ang puwang sa pagitan ng mga bansa sa pamamagitan ng paglikha ng higit na pagtitiwala ng mga mahihirap na bansa sa mga mayayamang bansa. Kumbaga, ang mga mahihirap na bansa ay nananatiling umaasa sa mga utang o mga foreign aid na tinatawag galing sa mga mayayamang bansa tulad ng Amerika. bansa sa pamamagitan ng labis na pag-export ng mga mapagkukunan o pagkuha ng karagdagang kita at pagkontrol sa pamamagitan ng neocolonialism. Ang mga mahihirap na bansa ay nakasalalay sa mas malalakas o mas mayaman na mga bansa dahil sa utang, tulong mula sa ibang bansa at pangingibabaw ng mas malalakas na pamahalaan na gumagamit ng mga impluwensya pang-ekonomiya at pang-kultura. Binibigyang diin ng teoryang ito ang teoryang modernisasyon na ang kahirapan ay hindi pangunahing batayan ng tao. Nilikha ito bilang resulta ng kapitalismo, imperialismo at neokolonyalismo. Ang pagtitiwala ay tumingin sa panlabas na mga kadahilanan na nakakaapekto sa pakikibaka ng isang bansa sa kahirapan at hindi pagkakapantay-pantay. Samantalang ang teoristang modernisasyon ay naniniwala na ang kahirapan ay isang panloob na pakikibaka. Ang teorya na ito ay naniniwala na ang kahirapan ay isang pangunahing kondisyon ng tao, kaya't lahat ng mga bansa ay mahirap na magsimula. Hindi ibig sabihin na ang isang mayamang bansa ay hindi dumaan sa paghihirap. Ganon din lamang ang kasabihan ng mga tatanda. Hindi ka maaaring magsimula sa mataas.
Good morning everyone, I'm Josa Eunice Pontillas. I'm here today to talk to you about Global North Divide. Global North Divide refers to those technically and socially well-developed countries, basically located in North America and Europe. The Global North countries consist of richest and most industrialized countries, which are mainly in the northern part of the world. Generally, definitions of the Global North is not exclusively a geographical term, and it includes countries and areas such as Australia, Canada, the entirety of Europe and Russia, Israel, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, South Korea, and United States. The Global North is composed of the primary developed leaders such as United States, Australia, and European Union. The Global North refers to the developed societies of Europe and North America, which are characterized and established democracy, wealth, technological advancement, political stability, aging population, zero population growth, and dominance of world trade and politics.
Additional information about Global North. Global North refers to the countries that are geographically in the Northern Hemisphere or to the countries that are economically developed. So, Global North is in the upper part and economically developed and many resources. So, may tanong ako, lahat ba ng bansa ay economically developed? No, hindi lahat naman sa ganoon ay nakakahon sila sa ganoong sitwasyon. Sa rin na they are struggling when it comes to economy. In terms of location, for example, in the Eastern Europe, makukonsider din natin isa siyang Global South because they are struggling of civil wars, conflict, etc. Global North and the Global South would change over time because pabago-bago tayo ng dynamics, especially in the contemporary world. Global North, also known as First World, because they are richer and developed region. 95% of them has enough food and shelter. Differences in the Global North: less population, high wealth, high standard of living, high industrial development.
Opposite. The Global South refers broadly to the regions Latin American, Asian, Africa, and Ocean. It is the one of family terms including third Third World and primarily the denote regions outside Europe and North America. Most have low income and often politically or culturally marginalized. The Global South represents many agrarian economies, in Africa, India, China, America, and others are not globally sound, politically stable as their global North counterparts and tends to be characterized by turmoil, conflict, poverty, and anarchy and tyranny.
Good afternoon, classmate. This is my report. Report in South Divide. The concept of global North and global South is used to describe a grouping of countries along socio-economic and political characteristics. South Divide is the difference in wealth between the rich countries of the world in the North and the four countries in the South and the UK. The difference in condition, especially economic, between the poorer area in the North and the richer areas in the South of the country. When did the North and South divide? The Civil War that raged across the nation from 1861 to 1865 was the violent conclusion to decades of diversification. Gradually, throughout the beginning of the 19th century, the North and South followed different paths, developing into two distinct and very different regions. The North-South divide is a socio-economic. The North-South divide is broadly considered a socio-economic and political divide. Generally, definition of the global North include the United States, Canada, Western Europe, and developed parts of Asia as well as Australia and New Zealand, which are not actually located in the geographical north but share similar economic and cultural characteristics as other northern countries. The global south is made up of Africa, Latin America, and developing Asia, including the Middle East. The concept of global north and global south or north-south divide is used to describe a grouping of countries along socio-economic and political characteristics. Ang konsepto ng global north at global south ay ginagamit sa paglalarawan ng iba't ibang grupo ng ibang bansa at sa mga katangian nito sa socio-economic at political groupings. So, ang South Divide, ito ang pagkakaiba ng kayamanan sa pagitan ng mayabang bansa at iba't ibang mundo gaya ng Norte at ang mahirap na bansa gaya sa South. Ang pagkakaiba ng kalagayan ng isang bansa, lalo ng economic at ang mahirap na lugar na ito sa Norte ay ang mayamang areas ng South sa isang bansa. Ang Civil War ay nagsimula noong 1861 to 1865. Mayroon itong maras na konklusyon tungkol sa dekada ng isang diversification. Gradually, sa pagsimula ng 19th century, ang North at South ay sinusundan ng iba't ibang mga landas, ang pagbubuo ng dalawang distinct at iba't ibang rehiyon. Ang North-South divide ay isang socio-economic. The North-South divide is broadly considered as socio-economic at political divide. Karaniwan na ang kahulugan ng Global Norte, pati na rin ang United States, Canada, Western Europe, at ang pagdedevelop ng iba't ibang parte ng Asia, lalo na ang Australia at New Zealand. Ang Global South is made up of Africa, Latin America at sa pagbuo ng Asia, kabilang ang Middle East. Ang konsepto ng Global North at Global South divide ay ginagamit sa paglalarawan ng iba't ibang grupo ng isang bansa sa socio-economic at political characteristic. So, as such, the term does not inherently refer to a geographical south. For example, most of global south is actually the northern hemisphere. The north and south increasingly corresponds less and less reality, and it's increasingly challenged in economic terms. The north, with 1/4 of the world population, control 4/5 of the income earned anywhere in the world. 90% and the maturing industries are owned by and located in the north. Inversely, the south, with 3/4 of the world population, has access to the world income north regardless of geographical location. Similarly, in a nation that do not qualify for developed status on an effect to be part of the South, to be belonging of the South, which implies lack thereof, according why global divided the North and South. There are many causes for these inequalities, including the availability of natural resources, different levels of health and education, the nature of country economic and its industrial sectors, international trading policies and access to markets, how countries are governed, and international relationship between.
The advantage and disadvantage of global divide. The advantage: good transfer of technology, better service, standardization of labor, development of infrastructure, foreign exchange reserves, economic growth, affordable products, extension of market. The disadvantage of global divide, growing inequality, increasing of unemployment rate, trade imbalance, and environmental loss. Thank you po, sir. Thank you po.